Why why are leftist terrorists always so massive, like just such degens? Like, why is that the case? I'm not perfect. I have, my own kind of predilections and things, but like I'm not this level of degen. Like what are we even dealing with here? And like, and I'm very, very, very right wing. So, well, there's degeneracy on both sides. I'm not saying that there's not, but it just seems like why is it that like whenever you have like all the leftist terrorism that has happened over the last 10 years, every time you can put like a face and a name to it, like in the case of Luigi Mangione here, it's always like extreme degeneracy. It's not just like mild degeneracy, it's extreme degeneracy. It's just crazy to me. But yeah, Luigi Mangione got beaten up by 7 ladyboys in Thailand months before United Healthcare CEO report. Or United Healthcare CEO shooting. Interesting thing here. He in the months before, like one of the things people are saying about Luigi Mangione is that the reason why he did this is because he had some kind of like chronic back issue that like his insurance wasn't covering and he was in a lot of pain like all the time. At least I've heard people make that claim about him as a kind of justification for why he did what he did. Even though I don't even think he had United, he didn't even have United Healthcare. Wasn't even like his insurance carrier. So I never really bought that in the first place. But this kind of pokes a hole in that because you're telling me that he was in like serious, like such chronic back pain all the time because of an injury that he took it upon himself to murder a father of two, in cold blood in the streets of New York. But he was in good enough physical condition that he could go backpacking across Asia just months before. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. None of this does. Just like the way these people just like lie. They open their mouths and lies fall out. Luigi Mangione was roughed up by a group of transgender women during a wild night out in Thailand in the months before he allegedly gunned down United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, a new report claims. The 27-year-old accused assassin allegedly bragged to friends over WhatsApp about his raucous nightlife backpacking through Asia before he returned to the U.S. in July 2024 and allegedly shot Thompson that December, the New York Times reported Tuesday. So, yeah, not only was he going backpacking across Asia, but he was also, out here partying with Thai ladyboys. Just absolute degeneracy. Now, keep in mind, I got friends who were trans, right? Whatever, it is what it is. But I mean, when you can like if you like when you get down to brass tacks, there's being trans. Like you could be trans and not necessarily be a degenerate, right? It is like you could it's conceivable, to you could be it's I mean, I guess if we're getting down to the brass tacks of the definition of the word degeneracy and what it is to be degenerate, it is technically degenerate because it's sort of outside of the norm of standard human, sexual behavior. But like colloquially, when we think of degeneracy, we are imagining like extreme, you know, um, like extreme sexual deviance. You know what I mean? So like you could be trans and not be a giant slut butt. You could be into trans people. You can be Luigi Mangione, for instance, and be into ladyboys, and but not go to Thailand and party with them and just like have a crazy ladyboy sex filled backpacking weekend. There are levels to this, and it just goes like so. It's possible to be, like I said, in the strictest terms of the definition, slightly degen, slightly, but that's when if you're getting like autistically specific about what a word means. But like from like when we say someone is degenerate, we're referring to a level of degeneracy, like as a into like that people will engage in. And it seems like he is an extreme degenerate. Like I got a couple friends, one is a man, the other is a trans girl, and they're currently dating, and I wouldn't call either one of them degenerates, not necessarily. They're just regular people who happen to be, into each other, and that's perfectly fine. Like that's not necessarily degenerate to me. This is. Now if my friend who I'm referring to, if he were out go if he were to go backpacking in Thailand and were to, be partying with ladyboys, getting shithouse drunk and having sex with whole groups of them, then yeah, that's a little degen. Now at the same time, if I, as a heterosexual man, were to go to Thailand and have, crazy sex fueled parties, but with like bio females, like Thai bio girls, or if I were to do this anywhere in Asia or Europe, if I were to do it in Eastern Europe and go be like, or go to Dubai or whatever and just smash every woman I saw, that's also a level of degeneracy. Just because it's a straight guy doing it doesn't mean it's not degenerate. It's a matter of behavior, and it just always seems like the leftists are the ones who engage in this extreme degenerate behavior, and it stands to reason why they would, because they're the liberal side of things, so they would be more, not just more tolerant of this type of behavior, but more encouraging of this type of behavior. Here's a great example of a right way. I consider the Tate brothers to be massive degenerates, both of them. Like they can pass themselves off as like these super trad, like super base guys, because like it's like I'm a Muslim, bruv, and the other one's like an Orthodox Christian. But like you guys admit that you have a harem of women, of multiple women that you sleep with. You have multiple children by multiple women. You basically live like Mormons. You have sister wives. You used to run a webcam business. You used to manage girls on OnlyFans. Like, yes, you are massive. It doesn't matter that you're heterosexual and you pass yourselves off as like religious men. You're massive degenerates. But again, we're talking about like the this weird kind of like through line, I guess, between leftist terrorism, and then you find out these leftist terrorists are all massive degenerates. I suppose it stands to reason because, like I said, not only is it the liberal side of things and they're more tolerant to this kind of stuff, and more encouraging of this type of behavior, but also the fact that if you are the type of person who is willing to do extreme acts like cold-blooded murder, then it stands to reason you're probably also willing to engage in other extreme behaviors. So, in one eyebrow-raising message, Mangione claimed he had been beaten up by 7 ladyboys, a colloquial term for transgender women, in Bangkok, and shared a photo of his battered and scratched arm, according to text reviewed by the outlet. The Ivy League educated tech whiz set off on a solo trip abroad in early 2024, befriending soccer player Christian Cecchini and an unidentified companion along the way. Cecchini, who met Mangione at a Bangkok pub in March, told the publication the accused killer initially talked about video games and Pokemon before veering into a rant about how effed up the U.S. healthcare system is compared to Thailand. Yes, of course, because an because an American would go to like a third world shithole like Thailand and immediately talk about how healthcare in Thailand is automatically better than, he thinks everything in Thailand is probably better than the United States. He hates the United States. So he would automatically assume everything is better. And why didn't he stay? Why didn't he just stay in Thailand and become like an expat and just live in Thailand and try to get on the Thai, like if the healthcare in Thailand is so much better and he had this like chronic back problem, why didn't he, you know, do that? Why didn't he stay in Thailand and get? I don't think there is a back problem. I think that's just something that is just being made up to try to justify the reason why he killed a father of 2 in cold blood. He couldn't believe it, Cecchini said of Mangione's shock at the low cost of an MRI in the Southeast Asian nation. That's because everything in Thailand is cheap compared to everything in the U.S. because Thailand is a poor country. Like it's not some grand like scheme in order to keep Americans poor and sick. This is how it is. Countries with more material wealth will have higher prices on goods and services. It's just because there's more money to throw around. That's just a that's just kind of a basic side effect of affluence. We are the most affluent nation ever in ever in the history of the world. But all things being relative, the quality of our healthcare is probably still better. We probably still have better outcomes. Yes. Do we go into debt, personal debt, as a result of our medical expenses? Sure, and that's unfortunate. But everybody takes on debt for healthcare. Okay, I don't know how Thailand's if they have like a single payer or or whatever, if it's just like government subsidized to the point where nobody pays anything, it's just paid through for with taxation. But somebody takes on the debt for healthcare. Here in the United States, we opt to take on the debt as individually. We take on the individual debt for the cost of our individual healthcare needs. Whereas, like the UK with the National Health Service, they choose for the state itself to take on the debt, no matter, and is paid for through government subsidies and taxation. Either way, you, the individual, are paying for the healthcare. It's just, are you paying into the healthcare system like the NHS, which is itself massively in debt, or are you accruing the debt on your person for the healthcare that you need and not necessarily being responsible for the healthcare needs of everybody else? Either way, somebody's going to carry the debt. Either everybody carries the debt equally or you carry your debt individually, but the debt is there. No country on earth is immune to it. So no, I do not believe that Thailand has better healthcare than the United States. You might prefer the single payer or whatever. I'm just speculating here. Maybe it's not single payer, but let's just say that it is. Maybe you prefer that idea, but it's like materially, it's really not that much different. The alleged killer, who hails from a wealthy Maryland family, eventually escaped to the lush Mount Omine Mountains in Japan, seeking a slower pace and hoping to meditate and do some writing by a serene hot spring. He played Ghost of Tsushima. He played Ghost of Tsushima and decided he was going to go pull a Jin Sakai and go write a haiku next to, on a scenic Japanese cliffside overlooking a valley. Fellow travelers, locals, and Mangione's own notes suggest he went from craving human connection at the start of the trip to isolating himself while obsessing over how much a dramatic statement about injustice over insurance coverage, the Times reported. Quote, he didn't use any digital devices, said Juntaro Mahara, owner of a small guest house in Tenkawa, where the University of Pennsylvania grad stayed for 6 days. This is another thing. If Luigi Mangione was wealthy or came from a wealthy family, why didn't he like just get his parents, or if maybe he's a trust fund baby, why didn't he just go pay for his back surgery? Like if he had back problem, whatever health issues he had, he could have just gone and paid for it. I've never had health insurance in my life. Never, not once. Every medical procedure I've ever needed, I just paid for out of pocket. And in the rare instances where I had to pay thousands of dollars, I made monthly payments and I got it paid off. And it was just that simple. It was that easy. And I'm not rich. I didn't come from a rich family. I grew up in abject poverty. So like why is it that these like wealthy cunts who come from these, fucking Atlantic Northeast, wealthy old money American families are always pissing and moaning and whining about the debt that they're not in? Like, you really think Luigi Mangione had any medical debt? No, he didn't. He's just a sociopath who needed a who needed like a cause to glom onto to in order to justify his violent urges, and he chose healthcare, even though he's never suffered any kind of negative healthcare outcome because he came from money. Anything he ever needed was going to be paid for. He was quiet and only had minimum necessary conversation with other guests, or maybe didn't talk with anyone. Family and friends said Mangione went off the grid when he returned to San Francisco in July, noting that he had stopped responding to messages and had gone silent on his social media months earlier. In one August diary entry, the alleged gunman described sleeping poorly and feeling foggy while fixating on how to battle what he felt was injustice. Quote, I finally feel confident about what I'll do, he wrote, the outlet reported. The details are finally coming together, and I don't feel any doubt about whether it's right or justified. I'm glad, in a way, that I've procrastinated because it allowed me to learn more about United Healthcare. The target is insurance, it checks every box. It's also funny for people who claim that he himself was having some kind of like chronic, like again, I've heard it was a back injury of some kind. Um, that he never seen. He never seems to talk about it in any of his writings. Funny how that works. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to federal and state charges for allegedly shooting 50-year-old healthcare honcho in cold. The 50-year-old healthcare honcho in cold blood outside the Insurance Giants annual investor conference in Midtown Manhattan on December 4th, 2024. After the killing, cops found the words delay, deny, and depose written on shell casings found at the scene. He was arrested in Pennsylvania following a dramatic 5-day manhunt. The feds are seeking the death penalty against Mangione, who has since gained a cult like following of twisted fans cheering on the targeted attack against the father of two. Mangione is due back in federal court on December 5th. No trial date has been set. Hang him high for all to see. If he is found guilty of this murder, and let's be real here, he's on video, and when he was caught at the McDonald's, not only did he have the murder weapon on him, but also he was carrying a manifesto explaining what he did and why. So it's pretty open and shut. But no, hang him high for all to see. He needs to be made an example of. Luigi Mangione does not deserve to live, in my opinion. Period. End of story. This was terrorism, good old fashioned terrorism, the calculated use of violence to achieve a political end. And he does like he doesn't deserve the luxury of life in prison. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below, and be sure to like the video and sub if you aren't subbed, and follow the links and to click on all the links and follow me on every all the other platforms that I use. Follow me on X, and be sure to check out the game streams, which will go live later today. Here, actually, shortly after the upload of this video, more Cyberpunk, which we're almost done with, so that's gonna be fun. Anyway, um, you know, uh, throw me a ladyboy.